Hello, and welcome to the next episode in the series that is all about showing up and a little bit in the middle, showing the up. And today we are going to talk a little bit about the motivation, because this is one that, it comes and it goes, and motivation is fickle AF. If we are to rely on motivation, then it's a bit of a sorry state of affairs, because it comes and it goes, and then it'll come again, and then it'll disappear again, and then it'll come again. And so often people will ask about, how are you so motivated? How are you so productive? How do you get so much done? How do you really tap into that ability to crack the merry fuck on with your work and show the fuck up? Well, I don't rely on motivation initially. There's a couple of things that I want to kind of talk to you about in this episode, and some of them are, quite thought-provoking and potentially a little bit triggering. Some of them are things that are going to make you think about stuff slightly differently. So often people will say, return to your why. Always think about your why. It starts with why. And I don't think that anybody really uncovers the truth that surrounds their why a lot of the time, because so often what people will tell me is that, their why is about freedom. I set up a business because I wanted to create freedom. I wanted to be in charge of my own diary. I wanted to be able to do what I want, when I want, blah, 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 blah. And they'll tell me all about this freedom that they sought, this ability to perhaps work around their children or other obligations that they have or other things that they wanted to do with their time, that this was going to be their fast-track ticket to the life that they designed themselves. And then I'll ask them how that is working out for them, and there'll be a little bit of a face drop and a little bit of a so it didn't quite work out as planned. And there'll be this thought of, did I create that? And despite the intentions and efforts of creating that as a big why that they became self-employed, that actually the reality of what they're doing is that they're chaining themselves to their desk, and they're telling themselves that they have to be wiggly fingers working all of the time, and that they have to be on all of the time, that they, and when I'm talking in this series about showing the fuck up, this isn't about you being, in the face of your work every single minute of the day. Far from it. This is about you working smart. This is about you, really owning your message. This is about you getting super passionate about the work that you do. This is about you looking after yourself. This is about you really caring about the input that you have when you have it, but also really caring about being able to optimize your own energy and to look after you. And so often what people have created is this, and I talked to a client today about this actually, and I talked about the fact that, social media has become to some extent social media, and there feels like there's this need and that there's this pull and that we have to keep scrolling and that we have to be there for every single comment. And what if we don't? What if we don't answer that message straight away? What if we don't react to that comment straight away? What if something happens and we don't see it? What if? And we search and we trawl. And can you hear already the voice that this creates, because this creates a frenzy, and this frenzy is feeding more frenzy, and we've got to keep looking, and this has to be this scroll, and we've got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, and we invest all of this energy and all of this push and all of this shove and all of this angst into something that actually doesn't need us to do that. Yes, we do need to show the fuck up on our social media, but we don't need to be lifelined into it. It isn't intravenous. It doesn't need to be there at every single moment, all of the time. We don't need this constant attachment to it. So going back to the motivations, going back to the why to create this business, then what has occurred in so many cases of people that I speak to is that from their freedom that they sought to create. Instead, what happened was they created a really, really heavy chain around their neck, a heavy chain that made them sit at their desk, a heavy chain that made them sit in front of a screen constantly, all of the time, searching, second-guessing, questioning, overanalyzing, overthinking, that started to suck their confidence, that started to suck their self-belief, that started to suck every single morsel of their being out of them. And if that is you, then this week's YouTube video will really help you too. And I will put the link to that in the show notes stroke description that goes with this audio, so that you can go and watch into this week's episode. It is all about how self-employment can damage your self-esteem and the things that you need to know around that, so that it doesn't become something that is so ridiculously hard and so ridiculously difficult. The next one that I often hear about a motivation to set up their business is that they want to show their children. They want to show their children, or they want to prove to somebody, that they are capable and that they are able and that they can do the things that, that others perhaps dare not do, and that they are willing to embrace challenge, and that they're willing to try hard, and that they can, really pull their socks up and be who they want to be. Now, what we often see there, and, this is a little bit of a pokey one, and I don't like to poke people. I don't like to, make you feel like shit. That isn't what I'm intending. I just want you to perhaps have a look at where you are right now, and, is the position that you're in right now actually creating a good role model? That is my question. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you happy? Are you able to invest in these people? Are you showing up in a way that you're proud of and that is, really shining your light and doing your thing and stepping into it? Or are you just justing? I talk about this in lots of ways, justing. So some people will say that, I'm just going to do this on a weekend and spend half of their day rather than relaxing. I'll just do this, and then I'll just do that, and then I'll just do the other. And lots of people will report to me that they do that as well, to their kids. And, they'll have time that they've set aside to do stuff with their children, and they'll be, Mummy will just do this. Mummy will be with you when she just does that. Or Mummy will seem really stressed, or Mummy will seem really angsty, or she will be, not... that she'll be saying that we can't afford this, or we can't do that, or Mummy just needs to work, and continues that kind of role modelling to the child that Mummy is, I suppose, it's one that makes me think as well, and it's one that makes me consider, is Mummy putting that business before the work that she's doing with them, or the time that she's spending with them? Is Mummy, finding that that's more important? Is, are you modelling the fact that self-employment is really, really hard work, and that it is kind of destroying you slowly? And it's just one for you to think about. It's just one for you to have that thought point around, because these are the regular things that people will talk to me about when they talk about why they do what they do. They'll talk about freedom and flexibility. They'll talk about being a good role model to their kids. They'll talk about proving that they're worth something, because perhaps in the past they have, had a trigger that they haven't been worth that thing, or that they are less than. And then they'll often sit in indecision, or they'll create a circumstance where they're manifesting into reality, not manifesting as in the spiritual type of manifesting, as in drawing in, but as in manifesting circumstances, as in creating circumstances that are the exact opposite to what they wish to create. They create the circumstances that they fear the most. If I say, what are you really scared of? Well, I'm scared to prove that, that I'm not good enough to do this. Well, where you are right now, are you actually doing that? Are you actually proving that? I'm scared that, that I won't be a good role model to my kids. Well, if you're really tired all of the time and emotional, teary, stressed, preoccupied, etc., etc. Is that good role modelling for your kids? Am I creating the freedom that I wish to create? The last thing in the world I want is something that ties me down, that ties me up, that keeps me at a desk all day long. Is that what you are creating right now? And just checking in with those things that are important to you, that were important to you the day that you set out on your business journey. Are those things still relevant? Are those things that you are currently manifesting? And with anything like this, if you look at where is that optimum place, and what does that look like, and what do I want to experience? How do I want to feel? How do I want the process to feel? How do I want my crowd to feel? Where am I right now? And be really honest with yourself, and then you can see what the gap is. You can see where the difference is between where you are today and actually what you do want to create. When we talk about motivation and we talk about why, so often we talk about these circumstances and these different things. And I have said to people before, if you're looking to have something truly flexible, well, there are hundreds of things that you could do that are truly flexible. There are hundreds of different businesses that you could set up, career paths that you could take, different things that you could do that would create more flexibility for you, that would create a different lifespan for you. If you wanted that, then why do this thing that you do right now? Why do that? What is it about that is specifically your why? Because if your why is to create flexibility and freedom, there's hundreds of things that you could do. If your why is to be a good role model for your children, there are hundreds of things that you could do. If your why is that you want to, prove that you can do something and that you are successful and that you are able to, there are hundreds of things that you could do. Why do you do this specific thing that you do? This specific thing that you do. Now, this is the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation to some degree. Now, what people say is that intrinsic motivation is the stuff that will stick around the most. It's the stuff that means something to you, that is important to you, that burns your fire, that is the thing that really is personal and precious and important to you. To be intrinsically motivated, you are essentially doing it for you. Now that sounds selfish AF, doesn't it? That sounds like the uber-duber massive amount of being self-absorbed and being super-duper selfish. Now, my running training is predominantly intrinsically motivated. I do that for me. I do it to prove to me what I can do. I do it to prove to me that I can push myself, that I do it to prove to me what I've got. I do it to prove to me what I am capable of. And I have many different goals and barriers, some that are, vocalised and out there, some that are very much my own. I'm a bit of a secret goal getter. I tend to not put those things out there into the world because I don't necessarily want that encouragement and that push forwards. I tend to keep them as, very intrinsic motivators and barriers for me. And then when I've got the goal, I'm happy to then share those things and talk about those things, which might again be a little bit selfish and stops people going along on that journey with you to some extent. Extrinsic motivation is that we do this for praise, for reward, for other things. And that, for example, I could say, if we looked at my training as an example, I could say, right, I am going to go and get a certain time for the park run when the park run comes back after the whole shenanigans of 2020, 2021. I'm going to go and I'm going to get a personal best time. This is the time I'm aiming for. And I can have that as a fire in my belly. I can have that rumbling around in my soul. I can have that as the motivation to go out and do that session when it's blowing a hoolie and it's horrible outside. Or I can be motivated by the thought of being praised for achieving that, for getting that thing done. Now, I'm very much committed to enjoying the process of things, whether that's building a business, whether that's training, whatever that looks like for me. I'm very much motivated by the process rather than the outcome. And so often I have to talk to clients about, often, the external outcome, the how people receive what you put out there, how people implement what you put out there, actually isn't your business. Your business is to share your message. Your business is to perhaps keep people accountable, perhaps support them to do the thing. But you can't take ownership of their results. Their results are their results. They're not your results. They are theirs, and they showed up, they did the work, they did the thing. So intrinsic and extrinsic motivation are a really interesting concept. What are you doing for you? Now, I do my work, and I've talked about this in the past. I do this work because I can't not do this work. There isn't a part of me that can't share the things that happen inside of my head, the things that go on inside of my brain, the observations that I make, the help and support that I can give people to navigate things from the place that I'm coming from, in the very practical, very grounded, very earthed, very, right, okay, let's look at this logically, let's look at this methodically. And as a creative person, that seems quite counterintuitive, that I'm very much down to, if we take the emotion out of it, what steps do we need to take, what things do we need to do, whether that's somebody who is at that moment in time in crisis, whether they need somebody who isn't emotionally invested in the situation or circumstance, whether it is to talk somebody down from getting themselves upset because some tech isn't working or something isn't quite going as they anticipated it to, and tapping into their passion, tapping into what they want to do, and tapping into how they can create an optimal life experience, I suppose, because I am all about you being healthy and wealthy. I'm about you being wealthy in every single way in terms of all the different types of abundance, but that it doesn't compromise your own health, that it doesn't leave you as a shell, that it doesn't leave you without, any energy, without any sense of being, turning dull. Because so many people, find that their business sucks them into such an extent that they think, do you know what, actually, if I went out in the real world, I don't think I'd have any crack anymore. I don't know what I would talk to people about, because all I do is I do my businessy stuff, I'm businessy AF, and I look after the kids and the family, and I've got nothing to talk about. And I want, you to have experience, to have adventure, to have that opportunity to really embrace life for you. I can't not show up with my message. It's like a burning desire inside of me. It's kind of my mission. That's my intrinsic motivation. I am motivated by sharing what I know, what I've experienced, what I'm observing. I am motivated by giving solution, giving ideas, helping people to navigate stuff, to be able to get unstuck, to be able to really step into their own being. I am passionate about you being the you that you want to be, because I see so many people that don't even recognise themselves, let alone are able to articulate further beyond that the sort of light's gone, and they need a little bit of help to stomp down that tunnel and turn the bloody lights back on again. So whilst, there's light at the end of the tunnel, only if you stomp down and turn them on. So I think that when we look at what intrinsically fires us up, grab a notebook and go, why do I do what I do? Like, specifically what I do. Not being self-employed, not showing up on social, not any of that stuff. Why do I do this thing, this particular thing, this particular genre within your work? Why do you do that? And really pick at it. Really pick at the intrinsic motivation of the work that you do. You can look at the extrinsic as well, but, I think that the intrinsic is the stuff that keeps you going, even when it's blowing a hoolie outside, even when it feels a little bit shitty, even when motivation's on an off day and mojo's taken a hike, because that is the stuff that keeps you going. That is the stuff that keeps you moving forwards. Then we've looked at, the why and the intrinsic and the extrinsic. And when we think about that motivation piece and that really being driven to show up, when your mission is bigger than you're scared, you can do what it takes to make things happen. So if that fire in your belly, if that light in your soul is big and it's bright, then do you know what? Some of the stuff that you might need to do to move this forward might make you bum nip. But because you are so really invested in making it happen, because you are so excited about the message that you have to share, because you are really aligned to your key message, then you're prepared to take that step, even if it does make your bum nip a little bit, even if it does make you wince from time to time, even if it does give you a little bit of a sicky feeling. You're ready to show up, you're ready to do the thing. So when we look at the motivation to show the fuck up, I would just like you to consider, your why, but the real why, the specificity in the why, and the extrinsic, real fire that you can provide that fuels that. And think about writing a little bit of a mission statement. What do I stand for? What am I all about in my work? What is it that really, really sets me up, lights me up, gets me going? And if right now you are creating something that isn't optimal, then write down what is optimal. And then write down where you are right now and look at what it will take for you to bridge that gap. So that is this week's episode of Show the Fuck Up. Do make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, and on the podcast platform that you are listening in on, it would be incredibly lovely of you if you would rate and review the podcast, because that helps us get seen by more people. That helps more people to join us and to get involved in these weekly discussions that we have. And it also allows people to see that it's not just me that says that it's okay. Also, make sure that you head over to watch this week's YouTube video that is all about you. It's all about self-employment and self-esteem, and how it can really rob you of your confidence and self-esteem, and what you need to know about that. And also head over to the website. There are some absolutely amazing resources over there for you that you can get your hands on. Things like the change matrix, how to make change simply, the Tip Top Energy Checklist, the Boss Your Breakthroughs is a great series as well to help you to come out of apathy, to really start to inject a little bit of passion in your work. They are all over on the website, and I will make sure that there are links to everything that you need in this week's show notes. Now, for now, I will bid you goodbye. Have a gorgeous morning, lunchtime, afternoon, evening. Please delete as applicable to the time that you are watching it. And as I say, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I would love your feedback. Head to social and let me know what you thought of this week's episode. Have an ace one. Big kiss. Bye for now.